Micah Daniels of Wanchese talks about Wanchese Fish Company, the business started by her family, in an interview with Susan West. You mentioned your dad came from a large family?
Yes. My father is from, his parents were Malcolm and Maude Daniels. They had 15 biological children, 11 boys and 4 girls. 1 through 11 were all boys, with the exception of number 7, who was a girl. She's an amazing cook, if you could believe that. My father was born in his house in Wanchese. He was number 5 out of the 15 children, and soon after they told his mother that she would have to go to the doctor to have the children, but the first 5 or 6 she had in her house in Wanchese.
Do you remember your grandparents? Were they?
Not vaguely, I don't have many memories of my grandfather. He passed away in 1986. Okay. And my grandmother, I knew more. However, I'm one of 55 plus grandchildren, and
oh my goodness,
there's so many grandchildren, so it's hard to, have this real personal relationship when there's 50 some of you. But I was raised in the, she and my grandfather helped found the Wanchese Assembly of God Church. And what's really interesting about my grandmother is that she was an Etheridge, and her brother is Willie Etheridge. And they and their father founded Etheridge Seafood. Okay. Or really, he founded Wanchese Fish Company in 1936. And he had 2 children, Maude and Will. They call him Uncle Who. There was Papa Will was the man who founded it. Then there's Uncle Will that was Maude's brother that everybody called Uncle Junior.
And was he the person that I knew as Captain Will?
Yes. Our relationship with the Etheridges, they're our first cousins. So okay. Maude married Malcolm, and then in 1948, he took over Wanchese Fish Company. So we say, it was founded in 1936, but not by a Daniels. It was founded by an Etheridge. Okay. Then my grandfather purchased it, or however that worked, in 1940. I don't know all the details. I think he bought it, but so that's how the Daniels family acquired Wanchese Fish Company. Okay. But then the Etheridges, like Captain Will, her brother, started Etheridge Seafood. So they're our first cousins, and he had 4 children. So Willie Etheridge had 4 children, and then my dad's family had 15 children. But they were a workforce. Like my dad and his brothers, and they worked. They were allowed to go to church, and they were allowed to go to school. And then they worked. And they worked before school. They got out of school early and came home and worked. But when I got off track when I mentioned that they were members of the Wanchese Assembly of God Church, because it originally started in the Etheridge Seafood on fish boxes in the Wanchese Fish Company. Yeah, they used to hold revival. Yes, this is really fascinating, and yes. We should ask somebody about it who was around. But they were falling out on fish boxes, and that's what they sat on Sundays. And eventually, they built the brick church that you see now. But my grandparents were pillars in that church, and so okay. I knew my grandmother through church, and they say she was quiet, and I really don't ever remember her saying that much. However, she had some backbone to raise 15 kids.